Hello, welcome to Life Talk. I'm Mark Crutcher, and it is July the 10th, 2018, and this is show number 102 since we started the new format.
Yes, it is.
I'm joined by the usual suspects, my daughter Sheila and my assistant Renee. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you ladies?
Doing mighty fine today.
It's a good day.
Yes. In a minute, we're going to be talking about the Supreme Court, of course. The nomination just came down last night, so, and of course, I don't think there's anything new we can bring to the table.
It's been talked about.
Right. But before we get to that, I want to bring up the story that the mainstream media has conveniently ignored.
Of course.
Democratic pollster Celinda Lake, and I've seen her many times on these talking head shows, she has, and she's a raging pro-abort, but she's a pollster for the Democratic Party and has been for many, many years. She's come out with a new poll that says women are much more likely, her words, much more likely to oppose abortion than are men. And she said more women are more religious than men, and they're less likely to be pro-choice than men. Of course, there are polls that show different things, but the vast majority of polls that have ever been taken on the abortion issue that separate the results out by gender have found that women tend to be much more
Well, I mean, and you've got the March for Life, and you have all of these groups that these women have a huge, loud voice, and they speak out for other women, which these other women don't want them to speak out for them.
Right.
Like, leave me alone.
Right.
Because they are more pro-life.
And I mean, it makes sense that men would be more pro-choice.
Right.
You know, they say that, oh, they're pro-choice to support women. The reality is they want an, easy escape for themselves.
That's right. That's right. And this is what early feminists recognized.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you go back and you study feminism, starting in the mid-1800s, they always opposed the legalization of abortion because they saw that it profited sexually irresponsible and sexually predatory males.
That's right. And we did a report. We did 2 reports on the under the radar violence and conflict over abortion and the child predator that proved that these men want abortion so they can kill that child that they would have a responsibility over and paying child support and just their whole life. And
It's for sexually irresponsible men.
And I mean, like, if you look on the internet, like Reddit, other forums and stuff, you hear about, guys typing, oh, I, got my girlfriend pregnant. I want her to have an abortion. How can I convince her to have an abortion? You hear about that all the time.
Yeah.
Yet, the mainstream media and these feminist groups want you to think that it's, the women that are wanting the abortion.
Yeah. I mean, I took the bad word, to the abortion clinic, dropped her off, and she had to find her own way home.
Right.
I mean, that's just who they are.
Well, we've come to the point now where male responsibility is defined as a willingness to pay for half the abortion and give her a ride to the clinic.
If
Oh,
they even
gee,
do
thanks
that.
for paying half for it,
And then taken off as soon as I have the abortion
Yeah.
and not hear from them ever again.
Yep. And one of the things I remember you talking about when you first came to Life Dynamics and hadn't really been involved in the pro-life effort before that, was that it was so female-dominated that the media would have you believe that the pro-life movement is about 95% old white men trying to control women's bodies. The reality is it's
not.
very female-dominated.
Very female, yeah.
Yep. Anyway, Celinda Lake's poll is not getting any attention, of course, in the media because it doesn't advance the narrative that they want to advance.
Yeah.
And so they just conveniently ignore it. And it's especially troubling for them given that she's a Democrat and a raging pro-abort. So they don't want to be talking about that. Well, in a minute, we're going to be talking about some ramifications to do with the Supreme Court. But first, let's take a moment out for our new segment, RoeBots.
In 1973, the U.S. Supreme Court legalized abortion nationwide. The decision is called Roe versus Wade, and those who defend it are known as RoeBots. This is how they think.
There is no connection between a person's position on abortion and their religious beliefs. Someone can be pro-choice and a Christian at the same time.
That is pure nonsense. And the people who make statements like this are either clueless about what it means to be a Christian or they are heretics. Remember, two fundamental tenets of Christian doctrine are that A, God is the author of life, and B, God doesn't make mistakes. Now, if those two things are true, then it is obvious that every time there's a new life in the womb, it is His will that it be there. On the other hand, when someone claims to be pro-choice, what they are saying is that life is not a right inherited from God, but is instead a privilege bestowed by human beings who can withhold it if they choose to do so. In other words, the pro-choice position is that God is indifferent about whether the lives He creates are snuffed out in the womb. Now, obviously, people are free to believe whichever of these two positions they want to believe. But to suggest that someone can believe both of them at the same time is illogical and theologically absurd. The pro-choice gang can tap dance around it all they want to, but the fact is that support for legal abortion is, by definition, totally incompatible with Christianity. In the final analysis, Christians cannot be pro-choice about the intentional destruction of the innocent and defenseless lives that God places in the womb, any more than they can be pro-choice about rape or slavery, incest, child abuse, or any other form of savagery that one human being inflicts upon another. And those who say otherwise are either fools or liars or both. All right, we're back. This Supreme Court thing, obviously, is the biggest deal going on right now, and there's really not much else to talk about because that's all anybody is concerned with. Yeah. I want to make a couple of points first off. Everybody's speculating. You have all these people, and I've read some things that that he has said, Kavanaugh has said, about abortion that are very troubling, that don't sound very pro-life at all. And so you have a lot of people out there that are concerned about that. And then you have others that say, oh no, he's gonna toe the mark and he's gonna be very pro-life and we're gonna overturn Roe and all these other things. The fact is, no one knows this answer to that question, nobody. And you're not gonna get it out of the hearings. So anything we say is pure 100% speculation.
It always is with politics, this
and
the
with
situation.
Supreme Court, right?
Yeah, the situation is no different.
Right.
I mean, you've had politicians who have said that they're pro-life, like 100% pro-life, and then they vote the other way. So you never can tell with politicians.
You won't know. What you just brought up is the second point. We won't know when, Renee. When will we know whether this guy's pro-life or not?
Until a decision has to be made.
Until the first vote.
We figure out what that will be.
Until he has to actually step up to the plate and vote one way or the other on an abortion-related issue that comes before the court, we're not going to know.
Exactly.
We've been betrayed many, many times in the past. This is not uncommon, and we may be betrayed again. I don't think that Trump betrayed us, but I think it's possible that Kavanaugh will betray us in the future. That's the point we need to be making right now.
Well, I'd like to make a point real quick that everybody thought that Trump, because he hires women all the time in office or even in his company that he had, it was always women, and he doesn't have a woman. I mean, he went male direction, so
I think he did that though because it's a nomination, the Supreme Court justice still has to be, approved.
Right.
And so I think he did that in a strategic way so there wouldn't be a stalemate, of not having a Supreme Court justice being approved.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right. I think he took the easiest, this guy of the four finalists, he would have been my fourth one. He would have been the last one that I would have chosen. I would have chosen Barrett. I think Amy Barrett is
I hope she's next. I hope Ruth Bader Ginsburg is out soon. I mean, she's 85 years old.
Right.
She needs to call it quits.
She can't live forever.
She can't keep going.
I think she's gonna, hold out until the moment, her last breath.
Well,
I think you're right.
And she'd be quitting right now, or she would have already quit.
Oh, definitely.
If Hillary Clinton had won.
Yeah,
So Hillary Clinton, like we talked about on last month's show, Hillary Clinton would have been appointing her third Supreme Court justice, whereas Trump is supporting his second one.
Yeah.
But he may get to appoint a third one, and he may get to appoint a fourth one. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows what's going to happen?
Yep.
But I heard rumors last night that people in the know and behind the scenes especially Leo Leonard, I think is his name, were indicating that the decision had already been made, that they were going to go with Kavanaugh this time, but that they have promised Amy Barrett is going to be the next Supreme Court nominee. If that's true,
I hope so.
the future looks really good for us. This lady is first class,
Yeah.
and she's just exactly what we need. But you know, the thing I want to talk about real quickly here is the issue of religion in politics and religion in the Supreme Court. Just this last couple of days, I think yesterday you gave me this story, Jimmy Carter has come out and said Jesus would approve of gay marriage, which is kind of interesting how Jesus is going to approve of something that the Bible
Is totally
speaks
against.
Right.
Yeah.
And that he would approve of some abortions.
Right.
So I guess then the argument would be,
Is he needs to learn his Bible.
well, that's always been the case, but I guess his argument would be that God creates all human life, but that Jesus would step up to his Father and say, hey, you made a mistake here. This one needs to go. You know, it's okay if they want to kill this one.
Yeah,
he said some abortions would be okay.
Yeah, he said that he's had a struggle for a long time with the abortion issue.
Yeah.
He said, I've had a hard time believing that Jesus would approve abortions unless it was because of rape or incest or if the mother's life was in danger.
Yeah.
So I've had that struggle.
Well,
First of all, how is that a struggle? Either the preborn child is a human or not.
Right.
That's no struggle. Either you believe in the right to life from the moment of fertilization or you don't. There is no struggle there.
Right. Well, first off, this guy, his statement that he struggled with abortion is an out-and-out lie. I think a lot of people have forgotten this. You know who he appointed as White House counsel when he became president?
Clinton?
No.
I don't know.
He appointed Sarah Weddington.
Oh,
The
nice.
attorney in Roe versus Wade
Right.
was appointed as White House counsel by Jimmy Carter. Do not tell me he's had a conflict over abortion. He's lying.
No, and I mean, he even stated in an interview, this was an interview with Huffington Post Live, he stated, any really serious conflicts between my political obligations and my religious faith, he said he hasn't really had any serious conflicts.
Well, he didn't because he abandoned all his religion.
Exactly. I mean, you can't say you've had a serious conflict if you just throw them to the wind.
Right.
You know, I know that we're all going to have to answer for our stuff on Judgment Day, but I know that God's going to ask him about this, and you question why. I mean,
But here's from a political yeah, you're right. We're all going to have to answer for everything. And, I'm not looking forward to that. I don't know about y'all, but I'm not looking forward to that really. But this goes beyond the pale. To sit here and claim to be a Christian, and he claims to be this, a Southern Baptist, that
I know.
he's a Southern Baptist.
He's a disgrace.
He's a disgrace, as is Al Gore and Bill Clinton, who both claim to be good Southern Baptists.
Yeah.
And to be claimed to be pro-life.
Oh, yeah, But here's the thing I want to bring up, and this is the issue, the way the left looks at religion. During this, and we brought up Amy Coney Barrett a minute ago. She was actually accused, because she's a devout Catholic and makes no bones about it, very outspoken about it. She was accused of being a member of a cult. The Catholic Church is a cult, apparently, to so many people. Now, Sonia Sotomayor claims to be a Catholic, but she doesn't live by it.
No.
Nobody accused her of being in a cult.
No.
Nancy Pelosi.
Nancy Pelosi.
There's so many Catholics. That,
Right.
I mean, they dragged her name through the mud when she was being considered to be the new Supreme Court justice. And I mean, in the past, in September, pro-abortion Democrats were still on her. It didn't come to light because her name wasn't, in the mainstream media, but they asked her about hostile questions about her faith in September during the Senate confirmation hearing. Right. So she's come across this before.
And she'll come across it again.
Exactly. It's just, it was brought to light because, this new Supreme Court
I don't think
deal.
that there's supposed to be a religious test. Or a faith test. Since when did this come about?
Yeah, well, I mean,
It
separation of church and state.
It only comes about because the left makes it come about, but only when people who claim to have a religious faith actually live by it.
Yeah.
But if your religious views are fluid, and they get trumped by your political ambitions, as in the case of, like we mentioned, these Catholic politicians, the Kennedys, the Nancy Pelosi's, Tim Kaine in this last election.
Oh my gosh.
Claims to be such a devout Catholic,
Yeah.
a pro-abort.
Right.
Well, his so-called devout Catholicism didn't interfere with. He wasn't accused of being in a cult.
No, because he believed that it was okay to kill a baby.
Right.
And the only cult here are the abortion activists that sacrifice these babies every single day. 3,000 of them a day. They're the cults.
That's a cult. And they're sacrificing these babies. It's a Baal situation.
They only call something a cult when it's convenient for them to call it a cult.
Right.
You know.
And it's just outrageous. But the bottom line is the American left, which is becoming more and more godless. I do believe that in years past, if you go back, let's say, into the 60s, I believe there were people on the left who were wrong politically, but were people of faith. Their faith told them we ought to do these things, and these things. Over the years, and especially because of the legalization of abortion, the number of people on the left that I would say are legitimately Christian people or people of faith has dwindled down now to the point that it's basically zero.
Yeah. Right.
There are none.
Very small percentage.
They could hold their national convention in a phone booth.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really come down to this country's, the problems that we have today are symptomatic of a godless culture.
Yes, it is.
And
This is
that's
very
where we
much
are.
a spiritual warfare.
That's exactly where we are today.
Yeah.
So, it's a sad situation, but that's where we've come to.
Yeah.
And we've talked for years. I remember when I was a kid in high school, you'd hear people talk about a godless or a post-Christian Europe, and everybody's saying, "Well, Europe is a post-Christian culture now." We're there. I think we've become a post-Christian culture.
Well, I mean, there are people that aren't religious that are pro-life, and that's a growing number. But polls have shown that those who tend to be more pro-life are those, who are Christians
faith.
and who are religious, and other religions as well, don't believe in abortion.
Well,
so there is that correlation.
I don't feel like it's too late to turn our country around. I don't.
No, I think
We need to pray.
we've talked about this before. I think even though none of us here would say that Donald Trump is some sort of spiritual religious leader. None of us would say that. His lifestyle doesn't lead you to that conclusion. His past doesn't lead you to that conclusion. But I think, and throughout Scripture, you and I have had this discussion many, many times, Renee. Throughout Scripture, God used people to do things that they were totally unsuited to do, totally unqualified to do, had no abilities to do.
Yeah.
He used those people.
Right.
And I think that's what's happening with Donald Trump, even though Trump doesn't know it, probably doesn't know it, but he might figure it out eventually. But that's what's going on with him.
Yeah.
And I think that what happened with the election of Donald Trump over Hillary Clinton was we were given a reprieve. God's saying, I'm going to give you a little bit more time to work things out, but you better get them straightened out, because if not, I do judge nations just like I judge individuals.
Right.
And so I think you're right. I think we can't give up, obviously. We have to fight. We have to stand and fight. But our country now has come down to a battle between God-fearing people and godless people.
Yes.
And that's where we are.
Yeah.
And you look at it, you look at, for example, last night after Kavanaugh was nominated, you saw the people on the Supreme Court and listened to what they were saying and looked at the hate in their face. These are the godless people that we have to defeat, and that's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
And I think we will. We have to. We don't have any choice.
Yeah, I agree.
But anyway, I guess that's about it. And y'all got anything else?
No, I don't.
No, we'll just have to see with the nomination. So
Well, we won't. Like I said, we won't know anything until the first vote comes up.
exactly.
We're not going to, unless he were to come out tomorrow and say, "Hey, look, I'm telling you right now, before these hearings start, if I get a chance, I'm going to overturn Roe versus Wade. I'm going to give personhood to the unborn. Unless he get, that's not going to happen.
No, no.
Please, Lord, let it happen.
I don't think it is either. So we'll just have to hold our breath and wait and see.
Wait till see what happens.
Yeah.
But anyway, y'all don't have anything else?
No.
I guess that's it. Until next Tuesday, remember, Life Dynamics is not here to put up a good fight. We're here to win, because winning is how the killing stops. We'll see you next time on Life Talk.